We are live now, Mayor Aker.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our council meeting for the middle of February, February 15th. Council, it's been 3 weeks since we met. I hope you all enjoyed your Frosty Festival break without the Frosty Festival. But anyway, the schedule was planned that way, and it's been a while since we met. So welcome back. You see before you the agenda for today's council meeting. I'm going to ask for a motion, please. Moved by Councillor Lane and seconded by Councillor Locke. All in favor of the agenda? And those opposed? Motion is carried. Seeing before you now, we have that the agenda has been approved. I'll read the land acknowledgement before we move on to the minutes from January 25th. We begin today's public council meeting by respectfully acknowledging the province of Newfoundland and Labrador as the ancestral homelands of many diverse populations of Indigenous people, including the Beothuk, who have contributed to 9,000 years of history on the island of Newfoundland. Today, this province is home to diverse populations of Indigenous and other people. We acknowledge with respect the diverse histories and cultures of the Mi'kmaq, Innu, and Inuit. We also honor this beautiful land together as we strive for collective healing and true reconciliation. Council, the minutes are handy. Any errors or omissions to report, please? I know you've all reviewed them. Okay, therefore I will call, seeing no hands up, call for a motion from Deputy Mayor Kiley and Councillor Antle to accept the minutes from the previous meeting. All in favor? Motion carried. Any business arising, folks, from the minutes? And just quote the number, please, from either the minutes or the action report. Now, moving right along. Hey, I'll give you another minute, though, just to be on the safe side. We have 2 proclamations forthcoming. Okay, moving along. White Cane Week proclamation for February 6th to the 12th, whereas the first week of February 2022 is recognized as White Cane Week, and whereas White Cane Week aims to remind all Canadians that the traditional white cane is a symbol of independence, not dependence, and that a lack of sight is not a lack of vision. And whereas this is the 76th year that this public awareness program has taken place in Canada and reflects the changing situations of people who are blind and visually impaired. And whereas White Cane Week is a program of the Canadian Council of the Blind, which has acted as the voice of the blind for the past 77 years. Whereas Canadian Council of the Blind asks that service providers remove barriers that limit the fullness of our lives and our fellow blind and visually impaired citizens. Therefore, I, the Mayor of Mount Pearl, on behalf of my colleagues here at the city, we do hereby proclaim the week of February 6th to the 12th as White Cane Week. And I shall sign that, council, on your behalf. Any comments, any questions as it pertains to that proclamation? Hearing none, I thank you very much. Now let's move on to Lymphedema, World Lymphedema Day, March 6th, 2022. Whereas lymphedema is a chronic and debilitating disease characterized by an accumulation of lymphatic fluid that causes swelling of the arms, legs, or other areas of the body, and which can cause disfigurement, disabilities, discomfort, pain and distress, and impair quality of life. Whereas patients with lymphedema may struggle with pain and swelling, may have recurring severe infection caused by lymphedema, and may experience financial and psychological strains due to the difficulties of managing their disease. Whereas while there are cases of primary lymphedema that are inherited, most cases are secondary that developed as a result of trauma, infection, surgery, radiation therapy, or removal of lymph nodes, including cancer treatment. And whereas gaps in research, education, and effective treatments exist, and more knowledge about lymphedema is needed to achieve timely diagnosis, management, and care, and to develop more effective treatments. Whereas lymphedema is estimated to affect 2.8% of the population, or 14,600 people here in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. Whereas the Lymphedema Association of Newfoundland and Labrador is a registered charity dedicated to ensuring all lymphedema patients have access to information, support, and treatment, thereby promoting healthy and hopeful living, hope living with lymphedema. Whereas March 6th of each year is internationally recognized as World Lymphedema Day to raise awareness about the disease and the treatment options available. Therefore, I, the Mayor of Mount Pearl, on behalf of my colleagues on council, we do hereby proclaim March 6th to be observed here in the city of Mount Pearl as World Lymphedema Day. And I shall affix that as well, my signature to that shortly, council. Any comments or any questions? I do recall from past proclamations where we've, in a non-virtual world, we've had a chance for people to come in. This is often tied to cancer radiation and people who have suffered from cancer. So it's a disease that's sometimes primary, as the proclamation says, and sometimes secondary. Okay, thank you, council. I'm going to move on now, and you see tabled before you that the final election for the Municipal Assessment Agency's Board of Directors has occurred. And the 10-member board is now comprised of Mayor Betty Moore of Clark's Beach as the Avalon Director, Mayor Tony Keats of Dover is the Central Director, Councillor David Hiscock of Bonavista is the Eastern Director, Councillor Deborah Barney of Lansalou is representative for Labrador, and the Urban Director just elected is Deputy Mayor Mary Thorngass of Torbay. Councillor Amanda Freak from Deer Lake is our Western Director, including on the board as well, Deputy Mayor Roger Barrett of Reedville, along with taxpayer representatives, Carol Ann Smith of Torbay and Tim Crosby of St. John's. And that is tabled for your information. Any questions or comments further to that? All right, that's the beginning of our meeting. We're off to a good start. Infrastructure and Public Works Committee, Councillor Fry, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. First on our agenda this evening is City Hall improvements, the new roof controls and HVAC. So just to give you some background, the contract for Mount Pearl City Hall, the new roof controls and air conditioning, the tender was awarded to JMJ Holdings Limited for $266,237.65 on July 15th of 2021. During the roof drain installation activities, it was discovered that some locations for the drain existing storm lead in the building conflicted with the existing venting. So additional work was required in order to repair this issue, and therefore engineering services requested approval of contractor change order number 2 in the amount of $8,006.40, HST included, noting that this amount is within the project funding budget. So the recommendation of the Infrastructure and Public Works Committee is for the approval of the change order number 2 to JMJ Holdings Limited for Mount Pearl City Hall new roof controls and HVAC for tender in the amount of $8,206.40, HST included, and I so move.
It has been moved by Councillor Fry and seconded by Councillor Rice. Council, any questions before we consider this change order? I'll call the question. All in favor? And those opposed? Motion carried. Back to you, Councillor Fry.
Now, the next one I'm really excited about because spring is coming and we have to be ready for it. So this next one is for flowers for the 2022 and 2023 season. To give you some background, the committee was advised that the tender for the supply and delivery of flowers for 2022 and 2023 closed on December the 30th, and only one bid was received, and it was from Murray's Horticultural Services in the amount of $62,740.44. Now, in the past, we contracted all of this out, but last year we have a horticulturist on staff, and he did a wonderful job, saved the city a lot of money from the contracting services, and I am really excited to see what he's going to do go forward, because he's starting and you build on this type of thing. And to see the city beautiful and colorful is just wonderful. And it's exciting to see that spring is coming. So the Infrastructure and Public Works Committee recommends that the contract for the supply and delivery of flowers for 2022 and 23 seasons be awarded to Murray's Horticultural Services for the bid amount of $62,740.44, HST included, which is within the budget for 2022 and within the anticipated budget for 2023. And I so move.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Fry, seconded by Councillor Rice. Question, Councillor Antle, please.
Just a quick question. I think this is a great spend. I mean, we're going to see the city all decorated. Just a quick question. I know this is a 2-year tender. Do we pay the $62,000 up front for 2 years? And why can't we split that into a 2-year tender? It's $62,000. Why don't we do it in 31 and 31?
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Antle. We will only pay upon receipt of the actual flowers. So there'll only be a portion paid through 2022 and then again in 2023.
Further comments, Council, before I call the motion? Deputy Mayor Kiley.
One of the wonderful things about this is the more you invest in it, the more we're going to see. And I really appreciate the thought of sustainability, but also enhancing what we have. I'm wondering if there's any comment on new areas or potential, what maybe visioning of what's to come this season in relation to what we couldn't do last year because of just the investment in the work that the different staff have been doing and those that are organizing it.
Director Antle, where are you planting your petals this year?
Your Worship and Deputy Mayor, we've been planting a little bit differently the past few years because of COVID. So we've been focused on some of the walking trails, St. David's Park in particular, and around City Hall. So as I hope, I'm sure we all hope, we start to come out of COVID, we'll start to consider additional areas or different areas again. We've normally done areas at the intersections, main intersections of streets and roads in Mount Pearl. So this year we'll consider it with our committee. This is an amount for flowers that's, we'll call it unit prices. And we'll determine as we look with council, with our committee, as to areas that we'll identify in priority for 2022. So it could change. I'll probably leave it with our committee and then back to council as we come up with areas that we think are the areas, the best ones for 2022. So I'll leave that for time to come.
Thank you, Director.
Oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor, did you want to say something? No? I
Thank
was going
you.
to say, this does not call for any expansion, though. This is more or less the status quo in terms of the quantity. Yeah.
This is the normal. This is the status quo. We've changed it a little bit in the past couple of years because we have reduced some of the plantings for budget reasons. But Councillor Fry is very correct. We've got our own horticulturist on staff. So we expect that we could expand some of this, and he's been doing some improvements indeed and improving some of the plantings. Also this year, and it's to come, we are going to move forward with some tree planting additionally outside of our flowers. So that'll continue as well.
That's great to hear. Thank you very much, Director Antle.
Councillor Rice.
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment on my support to this as well. I mean, you know, Mount Pearl has always been known as a park within a city. And, you know, and seeing all the areas of Mount Pearl, not only just like around St. David's Field and the center city of the, you know, we get the outskirts of the roadways. It's nice to get, you know, flowers and shrubs and trees all around the outer ring, other entrances, I guess, and the exits of Mount Pearl. So I'm really glad this is going forward and I support it 100%.
I'm moving towards the motion. I'm going to call the question. All in favor?
1 second, Your Worship, if I may.
Oh, sorry. Whose hand is up? Councillor Fry.
I just wanted to reiterate that this is just for flowers only, because where we have our own horticulturists, this would be a lot more in years gone by. So it's really exciting to see, and it's smart. And not only is it, you know, not only is it nice to look at, but it increases property values. When you have a city that's clean and bright and vibrant and colorful, it gives a nice feel to it. And for a small investment, it increases property values. It makes people happy. And it's great for the environment, and it's just a win-win all around. I am really excited about this, and I just wanted to say that I'm definitely in favor.
Thank you very much. And with that, you just closed debate. I'll call a question. All in favor? Contraminded and carried. Well done.
Now I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Councillor Rice.
Thank you, Councillor Fry. Your worship, number 3, we're looking for change order number 2 on the actually is an extension of a completion date for the pedestrian under walk passway for Eric Taylor Limited. The bid on this tender 17 MYCW-20-00137 for Eric Taylor was $269,186.25, HST included. So just a bit of note on this one. When this tender was awarded back in July of 2021, July 22nd of 2021, Eric Taylor was awarded the contract, and it was noted that because of the 50-day award of completion, the contractor didn't receive the supplies on time because there was a delay because of COVID. So the contractor was submitted a request for approval of change order number 2, which will see the work and this project remains on June 1st, 2022, and be substantial complete within 51 days at the start date. Any measures required during the extension period, shoring, bracing, repairs will be responsible for the contractor, responsibility of the contractor, and will be no cost to the city. So the recommendation from IPW committee recommends approval of the change order number 2, which will allow a project completion date extension. And I so move.
It is moved by Councillor Rice and seconded by Councillor Fry. This is this is a rare change order, Director Antle. And I'm sure you and committee talked about it, but there's no financial issues here, or is there?
There is no financial obligation to the city, Your Worship. If there is a cost as a result of some work that possibly might be done on the underpass during this period of extension, it would be borne by the contractor. So in this case here, it's a reasonable request to extend the duration of the work until this construction season that's forthcoming.
So how come we don't get these in all these unit price contracts we have for paving and underground works? Is that primarily because this is more of a fixed price contract?
You're correct. Lots of the unit price work, civil works projects, unless we actually tender them as multi-year, some of the projects we have in the city actually do go into double years or triple years even, and the schedule is built accordingly. The schedule for this project is indeed for the duration that we anticipated. As a result of some challenges with the contractor in this case, we couldn't complete it. They couldn't complete it in the fall season. So rather than bear the challenge of winter and the heating that comes with concrete, the request was to continue until next year.
Thank you. Councillor Locke.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question for Director Antle. Can you refresh my mind here? Is there going to be lane closures during this upgrade? Are we going to have to close down a couple of lanes on one side and then revert to the other?
Councillor Locke, likely we are anticipating lane closures once this work starts to permit the work to go on underneath the road. So when you're working in that section of the underpass, traffic is required to be diverted for 2 reasons: for safety as well as for the concrete that needs to cure once it's placed. And so we'll be diverting traffic from one lane, one side of Old Placentia to the other side, and then returning it once it's past that construction zone. And then alternatively, once we get the other half, we'll move it to the other side.
Okay, I was just curious with the 51-day completion schedule, that will take us into the 3rd week of July and won't stretch into the opening of schools in September. I was just concerned about potential impacts on traffic, but we're confident that this will be done in July, long before students return to school. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
We're going to move to the question. All in favor? Those opposed? And that motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Number 4, actually, this is a good news story at the end, and so I'll keep it right to the end of this one. This is a project closeout, Old Placentia Road asphalt renewal for 2020. This contract was awarded to Weir's Construction back in 2020. The original scope of the work for the tender was to provide construction services for asphalt renewal to Old Placentia Road area, including Nelda Drive, Root Avenue to Smallwood Drive, eastbound, Smallwood Drive to Richard Nolan Drive, and Richard Nolan Drive to Commonwealth Avenue for the 2020 construction season. On September 8th, 2020, council approved awarding of the contract to Weir's Construction to proponent with the lowest qualified bid of $1,644,562.10, HST included. So throughout the duration of this project, the unit price contract qualities were adjusted within the scope of the work. Some additional sidewalk replacement was undertaken. Also, with sections of the asphalt renewal were also removed. The final cost for construction costs was $1,400,691.38, and materials testing costs at approximately $20,000, resulting in a balance of $263,841.30 from the gas tax. So recommendation from Public Works Committee recommends that the project be closed and the balance of the available funds of $263,841 be returned to the 2020 gas tax allotment. I so move.
I'm not sure it requires a motion, to be honest, because we do closeouts all the time. It's a great news story. But again, okay, moved by Councillor Rice and second by Councillor Fry. Do you have a question, Councillor Rand? Oh, sorry. Okay. Any thoughts? I mean, it's a good news story, and we've already allocated the money towards other roadways here in the city. So in the spirit of Councillor Rice's motion, I'll call the question. All in favor? Those opposed? And that is carried. All yours, sir.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. For information purposes only, so number 5, operational updates. So Public Works Division operating in full winter mode, and certainly tell this with the last couple of days, the snow clearing and ice control, and they're also using the COVID precautions as a requirement for, I guess, for the staff at the city depot. Fleet maintenance ongoing with focus on winter equipment, which is I guess is a daily occurrence when we're using our winter equipment right now, because I'm sure there's always breakdowns and adjustments and stuff to be done. Engineering Division preparing for the annual city maintenance tenders for 2022 construction season, which I must add that it's going to be a really busy summer and fall this year. Facility Maintenance Division has winter maintenance ongoing for all facilities. And that's my report to sir, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But, you know, on the note of the weather we had overnight, last couple of days, Director Antle, you and the Public Works staff have done very, very well. I had a minimal number of complaints, and I never really approach the success of a snowstorm based on complaints, but I think we had, I don't know, I'm thinking we had about 35 centimeters. Am I right, Director? Am I close?
Your Worship, you're close. The tally was on the first batch of snow, we were at 40 centimeters. And through last night and this morning, we had another 10. So in total with this snowfall the past couple of days is 50 centimeters. And we are in, as Councillor Rice has indicated, full maintenance mode, winter maintenance mode right now. We're in cleanup mode, we call it. Our crews are extended on day shift and night shift. Our sidewalk blower equipment is out now, and we've begun trail grooming as well. So we're in full winter mode.
Well, pass our compliments off, you know, to our staff, and I just want to remind the public that you know, our crews are very diligent. They're very professional. And they work sometimes under the worst of conditions. Now, luckily, last night wasn't too much of a blizzard, but you know, I would encourage our residents, if they have an issue with our snow clearing, to reach out to members of council. Don't take it up with the operators. You know, they're doing their job, and typically, what we do is anything that occurs, you know, during an event, as we call it, we kind of like to deal with it afterwards, so we can ensure that we get the city cleaned up. Our goal is to return the city to a really safe place. And then following that, we'll always, like we always do, we'll review what happened. And then, of course, Director will move on immediately to sidewalks, snow piles in the cul-de-sacs. You're probably going to do some trail grooming in the next 24 hours and possibly rebuild some rinks. Would you want to comment on that now?
I could say yes, Your Worship. We'd be quite excited to get back to building rinks as well. Our first priority, of course, is safety and getting the streets cleared and de-iced and have our sidewalks cleared and our school zones certainly. But yes, trail grooming has begun, and we will focus on the outdoor rinks as soon as our staff is available from the current cleanup positions that they're in right now.
Thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to move now to the Community Development Committee report. Councillor Antle, please.
Your worship, I think Councillor Fry wants to add something to the last.
Oh, I apologize. I see it now. Councillor Fry, sorry about that.
That's okay. I just wanted to add quickly, with all of this wonderful snow that we've had, our snowshoeing and free ski program is open at Powers Pond. So there's good too. There's always good if you look hard enough.
That's right. Like winter seems like not a great experience for a lot of people, but we take advantage of that and we offer something for everybody this time of the year. Thank you, Councillor Fry. And now back to you, Councillor Antle, for the beginnings of the Community Development Committee report.
Thank you, Your Worship. And in conversations with Director Antle, he told me this was our last snowstorm for this year. We're moving right to spring as far as I know. So
that's why the flower tender was here tonight.
We got flowers. Let's plan ahead. I like how he thinks so positive. So thank you. Number one for us is the pool chemical tender. So the pool, I mean, we're moving in the things with swimming. The committee recommends approval to award the contract for the supply and delivery of pool chemical boracic acid to Billrock Industries. This is based on the lowest unit price per product for the period of 3 years, beginning January 1st, 2022, expiring in July 31st, 2024. There's two different amounts there. The first one is January 22nd to July 2023. It's $404 per unit price. And then it moves to August the 23rd to July the 24th for $419 per unit price. These prices includes taxes and inside delivery to the Mount Pearl Summer Center. Pool chemicals are an ongoing budgetary item, and the acceptance of this bid will not impact or require any additional budgetary discussions for increases in 2022. And I so move.
It is moved by Councillor Antle, seconded by Councillor Lane. Any questions, comments? A fairly routine operational tender, but I'll hold the floor for anybody who wants to chime in. Seeing no hands up this time, I'll call the question. All in favor? Contraminded and carried. Thanks.
And I will pass the other two on to my colleague, Councillor Lane.
Thank you, Councillor Antle. So second thing here on our agenda is the development permit listing from January 24th to February 11th, 2022. So as you can see here in your kits, we only have the one, which is for the Newfoundland Hearing Health Center. And I so move.
Thank you very much. Moved by Councillor Lane, seconded by Councillor Antle. All in favor? And those opposed? That motion is carried as well.
Okay, and the third thing here we have is the building and occupancy permit listing from January 24th to February 11th, 2022. So the committee recommends that the building permit issued for the period of January 24th to February 11th, showing a total construction value of $850,000, be approved, and further that the occupancy permit list be accepted as presented. So as you can see here, we have a couple of new houses being built, which is great, as well as a lot of exterior and interior renovations. So that's always great to see, and I so move.
Councillor Lane has moved the building permits and occupancy permit list, and seconded by Councillor Antle. All in favor? Contraminded? That's carried as well. Thanks. And that brings an end to that committee presentation. Thank you, folks. Corporate Services and Economic Development Committee, Deputy Mayor Kiley.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we're going to begin with invoices for approval, and the committee recommends the following invoices be approved for payment. And as you can see in your kits, there's a few listed there from 1 to 10. And in total, as it stands, and it's $272,779.38. In relation to the invoices for approval, this is just, of course, for your information, but just to identify some there, that includes everything from repairs to professional services, to assessments that have been done, right to legal or transit fees. So there's that item, and my understanding is I so move. So that's all I have. I move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Kiley, and I believe seconded by Councillor Locke. Further questions for the deputy mayor or Director Pittman? Hearing none, seeing none, I should say. I'll call Councillor Antle.
And just a quick note, I know we discussed it earlier on, but I know other people might ask that question. Number 9, when it says that standby rates for $49,000 for Newfoundland Power. I know that's something that Newfoundland Power does because, when we tear up, it seems to be steep. Do they charge that every time we dig up a road, like this standby fee? I know we talked about it earlier on. It's still like, it still kind of bothered me that we have to pay a standby fee.
I think we'll go to Director Antle on this.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Antle, that was part of the capital project for upgrading of Badcock Place. And we did work with Newfoundland Power. This is an established standard rate that they apply. So there is no negotiation, if you want to think of it that way. So it is per the amount of the extent of the capital works improvement that was done there. So that is the circumstance. So there's nothing else that I can bring to your attention other than that is their rate for being, they actually replaced their infrastructure underground as well. So they have to have crews there to be present and inspect that work.
I know, and we talked about this before, but just to, other people might ask that question. It's just a standby fee. I mean, I know, like you say, it's a rate that Newfoundland Power charges us, but if they charge every other municipality in the province the standby fee, it seems to be kind of expensive.
It's my understanding, Councillor, that they do charge it as in accordance with as there's capital works being done. So they do have, crew that are there while the underground work is being done. If you can imagine, it's underground cables and what have you. And as we are doing work for water and sewer replacement, they have to have a crew there in the event of something that gets damaged, disrupted, and needs repair. They make the repair immediately.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I see Councillor Rice has his hand up.
Yes, Your Worship. Just wanted a bit clarification on number 1, bang the table. I know it's a licensing fee, but what's it regarding? Like, what's the licensing for on that one? HQ, engagement HQ license subscription. So what would that come under?
Oh, sorry, you finished?
Yep.
I think we're going to Director Pittman on this one.
Sure. Bang the Table is our virtual city engagement, so resident engagement platform. So it's the system behind heymountpearl.ca. So that's where we do virtual engagement for things like the budget process or Find Your Center most recently, or for example, any survey or engagement process we'd want to go out to with the public. So it enables us to do things like surveys, message boards, provide information to residents. So we use it as just a virtual engagement platform. So that's just an annual licensing fee.
Okay, thanks for the clarification on that.
And I guess Director Pittman, for each initiative, we get to brand it or label it exactly what the engagement piece is about, even though we're using that as the back engine.
That's absolutely right. So it just looks very much like a citizen engagement platform. So it actually allows us to engage on multiple topics at the one time, just with their unique look and feel.
Yeah, the name is very unique too. Yeah. Any further questions, folks, before we call a question? Okay, good discussion. I'll call a question. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carried.
And Your Worship, that brings us to item number 2, the payment register. So of course, this is an item for information for council, and the following payment register is between January 20th and February 9th, 2022. The total for the register at that period is $1.728,325. And in the kits there, it is quite an extensive list of expenses. As you can see, both the vendor ID, the vendor name, and the date in which the totals are listed as well. And of course, just some items there because it comes up regularly of some of our key items that we pay is the St. John's Transportation Committee at $118,610, to our municipal assessment agency fees, which is for this time period was $67,613, along with items from our what we are generally expending out monthly. So that's for a piece of information. There is no motion required there, but if there's any information or questions that people have in to any of these lines, would be the time.
Councillor Rice, your hand is up. Is that left over from the previous conversation?
No, I still got one question actually there on And just a second number
Okay,
line.
you and then Counselor Fry. Okay.
Yeah, so the one there, Eric Taylor Limited, that's number 6 down. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 7, number 7 down. Is that a payment as part of the tender that was awarded to him in this fall in November? Or was that a payment of other work?
Director Antle, perhaps?
Yes.
I believe, Director Pittman can confirm, I believe that's a progress payment on the
Progress
district
payment, yeah, that's
transfer.
right. Yep. Okay, thanks for the clarification on that.
Counselor Fry?
Thank you, Your Worship. I seem to be having some connectivity issues tonight, so if I'm in or out, please let me know. My question tonight in particular is regarding Park Place. I see an amount here for $7,055.55 for Park Place Community Center. Just wondering what that is for.
That's going to go to community development, I think, which because there's an independent board there. Director Collins.
That's some transfer payments with the city to the Park Place board, and just to help offset some costs during COVID when it comes to heat, light, things like that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions, folks? Of course, if something arises, we can easily refer them to for answering through Director Pittman or the CAO. All right, moving right along, back to you, Deputy Mayor.
Actually, I'm going to pass it along to my colleague, Councillor Locke, for the final item from our committee.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Your Worship. Our final item here is a tax deferral, standard procedure here for low-income earners. We're recommending approval of the following tax deferral. And again, as I said, it is in accordance with our policy for low-income earners. We have the account number there, and the amount being deferred is $6,194.93, and I so move.
Moved by Councillor Locke and seconded by Deputy Mayor Kiley. And I know this is according to policy. It's a large amount. Can I ask one question? Is it 1 year or is it multiple years? Will I be able to?
Yep, this is multiple years, Your Worship. So as our policy permits, we will defer the payment. There's no tax on this, so ultimately, when the property is sold, there will be a lien on the property. The city will get this back, but in this case, it is multiple years. They still have to pay water and sewer every year, as well as their garbage fee. We don't defer that, but we can defer the taxes and the interest on the taxes. So in this case, it is a multiple year.
Appreciate the clarification. Councillor Antle's next.
I was going to ask the same question, but on another light on that. How long do we defer taxes, Councillor Locke? Would we continue this on for 20 years? Or is there a limit that we stop deferring taxes?
My understanding is it's ongoing until such time that the property is sold, and then we get our taxes back.
I can't speak to much experience, but quite often it happens when somebody passes, or perhaps there's a bankruptcy. But there's no definite time frame, is there, Councillor?
No, I don't know of any, and that's my understanding. So Director Pittman can probably clarify that.
Yeah, there's no set time frame. So, but everybody who is eligible for the low income earning tax deferral has to submit annual income statements to the city so that we can validate the income is under $40,000, which is our threshold. And we wouldn't let the income exceed the value of the home, the tax deferred exceed the value of the property. So that's really our threshold, but it really varies based on the amount owed and the value of the property. So there's no set timeline, but it is monitored, right? It's monitored annually based on the requirement to submit documentation.
So all these balances, Director, would be in our balance sheet as receivables.
Right.
And if necessary, appropriate allowance is made for uncollectability.
Absolutely. So as soon as we issue a tax bill, it automatically set up as a receivable. So we accrue the revenue right away.
I'll call the question. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carried. Council,
That's
that
it for
brings
us, your
the,
word. Thank you.
yep, thank you very much, Councillor Locke. We'll move on now to the roundtable. I believe last time we went with Councillor Antle. I'm going to move to you, Councillor Rice, right away, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship, very much. Starting off first, so I get to say everything. Is it that the way it goes? Okay.
Next
so
time you'll be last, right?
I'll be last. That's right. Anyway, thank you. So I got a couple of things to add. Actually, I'm really glad that Director Antle mentioned the trail grooming because, and Councillor Fry mentioned about the city, about up at Powerspan Boathouse, we have the cross-country skis now and snowshoes. We have limited quality of gear up there. So, I mean, there's some there, but if you're planning on going there, first come, first serve is the way it works. And the big thing I want to add is that it's free. There's no charge to anybody who wants to go up and use that equipment, which is a big plus to the city. Also, I just wanted to I guess, a good news story, and I'm personally actually involved with this, so I can I'm just say I'm pretty excited about. I've been involved with volleyball, with soccer in Mount Pearl. I coached the House League and All-Star. I also coached volleyball for quite a number of years, but I got back into refereeing pretty heavy, I guess, when I finished up my coaching career. But I just want to say that Richard and Jacinta Christopher they're the coach. They live in Mount Pearl, and they took a team actually of St. Peter's Junior High kids when they were in grade 6, and they took that full group up, and all of them are in grade 12 now. So, and they got a phenomenal team, and they're so good that that universities from, I guess, the Atlantic provinces and even some universities from up across central Canada are scouting these young gentlemen to be, I guess, to play on a higher level and go on to university. So, so the kids that are from, say, St. Peter's, right, or from O'Donnell High School right now, and Jacinta and Richard are still coaching at that school. And by the way, Richard is also the Canada Games for 2020 coming up in 2025. Patrick's Beerford signed with Dalhousie University. Nathan Marshall signed with the University of New Brunswick. Kaylin Noonan signed with the University of New Brunswick for a scholarship coming up this fall. All these are this September coming up. And Ethan Tucker signed with the University of New Brunswick in St. John. And Liam Gulliver signed with Holland College. Just to add, I mean, they're not even just to add, even outside. I don't usually comment on the kids that are outside Mount Pearl, but there's also 7 athletes on that team that are already gone on for a scholarship. Adam James gone to UNB. Derek Ekjim from Corner Brook has gone to Dalhousie, and Nathan Baker, Holland College. So all these kids were part of that program. So a very phenomenal job that they've done. And I'm connected to it because I refereed those kids from grade 6 right up to grade 12. And it's a really good news story. So I just want to pass it along. That's it for me.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Lane.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I just have a couple of things. So City of Mount Pearl is looking for students in grades 10 to 12 to join the Youth Action Team. The Youth Action Team helps us shape how the city engages with and learns from youth throughout the community. They will provide youth perspectives on the development of city strategies, policies, or programs as requested by council staff and or other community bodies. So this is a great opportunity for young people to get engaged. So if anyone knows of any youth in grades 10 to 12 that would be interested, please contact the city because it would be a great opportunity for sure. And also I'd just like to mention for information that the Church of the Good Shepherd is having a takeout pancake supper on March 1st. So the meal will include pancakes, beef or moose sausage, beans, and dessert. Sounds delicious. I might have to avail of that myself. So you can contact the office from 9:30 to 12:30 p.m. Tuesday to Thursday at 747-1022 to book your meal. It's $10 for adults or $6 for children. So that's all that I have for this evening. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm starved now.
I know, right?
Okay, thank you. Councillor Fry is next.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's funny, great minds think alike, because Councillor Lane, the Youth Action Team is the one thing that I wanted to talk about tonight as well, because it's so important to get youth involved in this. You know, we have, I know there are at least 6 positions left or to be filled this year. I believe we've had 2 or 3, Dr. Collins. So there's still a few positions left.
Correct.
Right. So this is a great opportunity, and it's a good chance for young people to get involved and to share in the policies and to help have their voice involved in city matters. And that's so important, because youth are very strong in our city, and that demographic is just, they're extraordinary, you know. So to have their views and their opinions to help shape some of our policies go forward would, and of course, I mean, you look at Councillor Lane, I mean, she and Deputy Mayor, both young, strong women on council to help shape the, sorry, Mayor, you don't qualify for that one. but to help shape the city and to have a voice, you know, like, this is so important. So I know Councillor Lane already mentioned it, but I feel it's worth mentioning again, because we've got extraordinary youth in the city, and we need them, and we need their voices to help us do better for them and to make better decisions that will affect them. Also, this past week, the Northeast Avalon Joint Council meeting was held, and the 2 guest speakers at this particular meeting were opposition MHAs Tony Wakeham and Jody Wall. And one of the things that I did ask them about was Team Guju. They asked if there was anything that we wanted them to advocate for on behalf of our municipalities. So of course I put up my hand and I asked, please advocate for the completion of our Team Guju, because I know that's a contentious issue, and it's something that we all heard going door to door. Actually, my son joked the other day. He said, you know, if Brad Guju wins another gold medal, maybe there's nothing left to name after him, so maybe they'll finish the highway. So anyway, going forward, at least it's on the radar of our MHAs, as well as other MHAs who will help to advocate for us. And of course, the Northeast Avalon Joint Council have regular meetings with, or touch points really, with Eastern Health. And these are, they're interesting, but you know, they always give us the numbers, but the numbers for me to report now are already old. But one of the things that struck me in this particular meeting is that he said they're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, because they had to deploy a lot of their staff to these swabbing clinics, which took away from other services that people wanted and need. So now with less swab, they still have swabbing clinics, but with a lesser number, staff are able to go back into the regular positions and normal services are able to continue. But one of the things he did say is that new cases, he said there's still community spread, because new cases are significantly underreported given the new testing requirements. So when you see 200 some odd cases that in a particular day, that's not the actual number. You know, there are other people who perhaps have COVID that just didn't get the test because of the new requirements. He did say that the one thing to look for is the positivity rate. And right now it is averaging between 19 and 20%. So that gives us an indication that there is still community spread. But this is something that we're going to have to live with. You know, it's something that as long as people are smart about it, and you take the proper precautions and sanitize and wear masks and all those things, this is something that we will have to live with. But it's interesting. We are going to continue these touch points. So if there's anything of interest, I will bring it forward to the table. And that's it for me, Your Worship.
Thank you so much. We're going to move now to, and I'm not going through the virtual table here, folks. I'm kind of back in the chamber. To you, Councillor Locke.
Thank you, Mayor. Several of the items I was going to speak to have already been mentioned, so I won't repeat those. I just want to send out kudos to our staff for the Valentine's initiatives that we saw over the past week or so. You know, the cheesy comments up on our up on our board on the Reed Center, the Summit Center up there, and the Valentine cards that went out to our seniors, and it was just the response I received. Again, it was lovely, and it was just a great job by all involved. And as you said many times, Mayor, during these trying times, it's all about the sense of community and reaching out and staying connected. And I think again, our staff did a wonderful job to reach out to those in need, to share a bit of love and lift the spirits of those of us in the community. So again, congratulations and a job well done. And that is it for me, Your Worship. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving around the table, Deputy Mayor Kiley's next.
Thank you, Your Worship. And again, yeah, there's been some incredible news and kudos and things said from my colleagues. I'm not going to repeat them, but it's always great to hear. And I have two items I just want to add to the conversation. One is today is a difficult day. It is the 40th anniversary of the Ocean Ranger. And while that is something that happened off the Grand Banks, 84 men lost their lives. We know that there's individuals and residents within our community that are still feeling the impacts of that. And it's one of those days that it's going to be something that, as a Newfoundlander, as someone who lived in this province and knows and are connected to families, friends, and folks that have been directly impacted by this, it's an important acknowledgement. And I just wanted to send my deepest condolences and care on behalf of the council to anyone who is feeling that today and been directly impacted by that anniversary. It's 40 years, which is an incredible thing to think about. It just feels very still at top of mind when we think about some milestones that are hit. I also wanted to acknowledge that between February 13th and 19th, it was Teacher Staff Appreciation Week. And I could not go without acknowledging, especially some of my incredible colleagues here who are teachers themselves and great educators. And I'm reminded of an incredible Aristotle quote, which is, "Teaching is the highest form of understanding." And I couldn't think of a better quote of, anything in which we talk about change and we think about progress and we think about innovation comes from the work and mentors of our educators and our staff that are supporting that. So I just wanted to, if you haven't already, to Councillor Locke and Councillor Lane, my personal appreciation for the work you're doing, and those that have been in my life and in our lives that have taught us, mentored us, and whether they're within the education system or someone that has just been that person who's taught you so much in your life. This is a great way to acknowledge them and show appreciation. So that's from, if you haven't already reached out or you haven't thought about it, hope maybe you can think about that, doing that this week. And those are my two items for tonight, Your Worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We're going to turn to Councillor Ant.
Just a couple of things for me. As everybody else said, everything was already said. I was going to talk about a few things, but a couple of mine are more on a sad note. The past few weeks, we lost a few good members of the Mount Pearl, City of Mount Pearl. Yesterday, we lost Ralph Neal. And I think we all know Ralph. He had done so much for Mount Pearl. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2012. But, I think Mount Pearl minor hockey, Mount Pearl Blades would not be as strong as they were without Ralph Neal. He'd done so much for the city of Mount Pearl. He certainly will be missed. It's giants like him within the Mount Pearl that made Mount Pearl so strong. Right? And we pass on our condolences to him. I also noticed this week, Mrs. Mossbecker. I always called her Mrs. Mossbecker. She lived there on Park Avenue. Right? I knew her, worked at Dominion stores. But most people would remember her husband, Erwin. He was quite involved with the Soccer Association here in Mount Pearl. And Mrs. Mossbecker just died. She's 96 years old, so she lived a very full life. And her and her husband certainly contributed to the city of Mount Pearl. And we pass on our condolences to Linda and Peter. Also, earlier, the past couple of weeks, on January 29th, we lost Keith Johnson. Keith was an employee of the city of Mount Pearl. He worked at the Glacier. But also, Keith, in his life with his kids, Daryl, Michael, and Garrett, he certainly was quite involved in the city of Mount Pearl with hockey, baseball, any sporting association. I'm sure a lot of people don't even know that Keith passed on. only pass on our condolences to Keith and his family, to Daryl, Garrett, and Michael. And that's everything from me, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, I've had a couple of things, but I did want to comment too on what the deputy mayor was referring to at the Ocean Ranger. 40 years. We live on an island. We have always been associated with the water, and the water, frankly, especially this time of the year, has great fury. Whether it's the fishery or just shipping or now oil production, there's many people who've kept those industries going. The forebears, you could say, many of them sacrificed their lives basically for the economy and the society and the standard of living that we have. I can still remember to the day when I was notified, 40 years ago, I was out shoveling the driveway, remember, because it was a day similar to any other day that we've had a winter storm. Today was mild, Director Antle, in terms of the storm. But as I recall that night, the winds were over 100 kilometers an hour. The temperature was below zero. So our thoughts go out to, their family and their friends and to all that work in our ocean economy. And the final thing I wanted to say is I acknowledge council welcome in the back after 3 weeks. I also wanted to recognize all of our staff that are here tonight as well. And I know you've been busy for the last 3 weeks. You've had committee meetings. You've had many a COVID planning meeting, I know. I believe one day, only a week or two ago, there was as many as 15 of our staff were impacted by COVID. And, thankfully, we've been able to operate through the winter with a lot of sunshine, but also with moments where we've maintained our operations, whether it was a night like last night in dealing with a snowstorm or doing some of the other winter things that are important to the residents here in the city of Mount Pearl. That could be trail grooming. That could be overnight garbage pickup sometimes. People are really impressed with that. It can also be building ice rinks. So I just wanted to say and acknowledge to you, the staff, thanks very much. You're here every day. Not every one of us are here every day, but we really appreciate what you've done for us and pass it on to the rest of the staff. I know we're, and I'm going to ask the CAO to comment now, but we're in the midst of a transition based on, I guess there's no reporting of levels anymore, but there are restrictions being eased. And I see we've opened up some of our city services, especially on the recreational front. But CAO Spurl, I think there's a return to work plan already in place.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, that's right. So this week we brought back many of our administrative staff, not full 100%. We're doing a transition back just because, as Councillor Fry mentioned, there's still community spread and we're very aware of that. And so we try to reduce the number of folks in common areas. All of Public Works is back and our rec facilities. They've been back throughout, as you noted. We've been continuing on with our programs and services. So we're keeping an eye on the capacity numbers and we'll begin our transition back, and hopefully, fingers crossed, everybody, that within, short order, in a few weeks, we will be back to full capacity again. And happy to say we've got small numbers of staff impacted right now. Still some impacts that we're dealing with, but we're, with all of our measures in place, we're managing to keep that contained.
Thanks for the update, Council. Any comments in that regard? I know staff have kept us really well informed throughout the this phase of the pandemic. Councillor Fry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was a bit premature, I think, in raising my hand before you mentioned that, because I just wanted to make a comment, not about what the CEO Spurl just mentioned, but I wanted to thank the staff and especially our economic development and marketing staff for the Day of Kindness yesterday, that initiative. I know that it was, we did the seniors' homes and the daycares, but there were a lot of other things too that happened because of it. And I know my neighbor 2 doors down came up and with a snowblower and did my driveway. And then he did my next neighbor, and then he did the other neighbor. So, this kind of took off, this Day of Kindness thing. And I really hope that this is something that we can do, maybe in the city of Mount Pearl for many years to come. Every Valentine's Day, make it a Day of Kindness, because it was just awesome. I mean, I know there were so many examples and too many for me to mention here now, but it's something that people need, especially, during these COVID times. So I just wanted to thank I thought it was a great initiative on behalf of the city, and to thank our marketing and economic development staff for that. Thank you.
Well said, Council. Let's close the meeting on a motion of Councillor Fry and Councillor Rice. We are adjourned. We'll see you at Committee of the Whole in, how about 20 minutes? That work for everybody? So 5:50? Okay, take care. See you on the other side. Good night.